The politician mind games of Kenjaku are finishing up in this chapter, and we got a break next week, sadly, so no new chapter next week, but it will return in issue 48 of Jump. I'm glad Jump is letting manga to get these consistent breaks when they need it. I'm all for that. Hopefully they stick to this and, let them get those breaks when they need them. But we got more information on what's exactly going on and the specifications of specifically America and what their deal is. And I'm glad that we're just getting more Kenjaku, because Kenjaku right now is looking like a top tier villain to say the least. So let's go ahead and get right up into the chapter. Okay, so we're wrapping up what's left in the White House, and we get 3 different approaches to Kenjaku's offer. We got Cyrus, the guy all about energy, the president, and Gary, the head of the army and military forces. Now, Cyrus from last chapter was accepting of Kenjaku, showing them cursed energy and everything involving sorcerers, because he wants the cleanest energy possible, and cursed energy can replace the artificial gases and energies they have in their country. Mainly because he doesn't want to fall behind the other nations like China and Russia. He wants the human experiments because this could lead to even better modern science and medical technology. And I like how the president is the one who is hesitant in doing all of everything that's going on right now, because he genuinely thinks this is inhumane and wrong. And it depicts how the presidency really is, because the president doesn't make every single decision. It's mainly the people around them that influence them and kind of have a little bit more control depending on what deeds need to be done. Because as a world leader, you have to think about the grand scheme of things and the people in your country. Well, you should, at least. And in between Cyrus trying to convince the president that this is a good idea, he names off the other countries that could be a part of this, like China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, India, Korea, France, and a couple other countries, foreshadowing the type of countries we could be facing when we return to the battlefield. And I'm really interested to see how Gege approaches this international warfare and seeing the other countries and their motives of doing this such thing. So I'm glad we're getting the names of what countries could be participating in this. Also kind of find it funny of Kenjaku and Urame that when one of the president's assistants is whispering in his ear, telling him that they're secretly talking with us, what if he's cooperating with other countries? We shouldn't really trust them. And they're just like, shit, we already did that. Also, he's using Ghetto's name in all of this, which could spark a conflict with our Jujutsu higher-ups. I don't know if this is really a big thing of him using Ghetto's name when it comes to some of these negotiations, but I wonder if this is going to have a outlook or an effect on how maybe, the higher-ups do something, or maybe they try to, talk to the other nations. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm looking too deep into that, but I just find it interesting nonetheless. Now let's talk about Gary the lieutenant, because this guy was doubting the legitimacy of sorcerers and just how strong they were. Now they did rule out Gojo because he's built different, but everyone else, Gary chose his men, muscles, and his bullets over cursed techniques and sorcerers. He really thought 5 dozen soldiers was gonna be enough to deal with everyone we have in the color games right now. Kenjaku was probably amused by what the guy had to say to a certain degree. He does agree though that strength in the body is a good solution, but you're gonna need a whole battalion of at least 800 people to deal with them. And of course Gary underestimated him and says the Japanese are shy and weak, just like the stereotypes say. And he even leaves a remark saying, is it because their mama never gave them a gun, making fun of them. And this sounds very American, to say the least. I'll give Gege credit. This is pretty accurate in terms of, I guess, how some Americans can be. And I guess, this is just how he depicts us. Urame is like, why don't we test it out? Urame to me comes off a little bit high-headed, but not too much. Like in Shibuya, she almost offed half the cast with just her ice, and Kenjaku had to, tell her to chill a little bit. So Kenjaku and Gary both agreed to test out their strength. Kenjaku, Jujutsu Messiah, as I'd coin him, versus the counter assault team, the SAC, Secret Services, the CIA, the people that protect the Oval Office and such, the president and the other non-fighters that have been evacuated during this. And the president is like, why don't we do this in a more humane and civilized way? But nope, Gary wants an overwhelming victory to prove his point against the Japanese, and even shouts, "This is America."
Don't catch you slipping now.
And while he says that, in the back you see one of the armed men being levitated or something happening to him, and he goes out, steps outside, and he sees all of his men, or at least most of them, just levitating in the air, in the sky. They look pretty scared. And on top of the White House is a giant Ganesha, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, like cursed spirit with 2 arms praying and 2 arms casting the technique. And this thing looks pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorite curse designs I've seen from Gege. And Gege does a really good job at diversifying how they look. But this thing looks really intimidating, and it looks pristine. It looks like it's a very important curse in Geto's arsenal. Well, I should say Kenjaku's arsenal, to say the least. But the fact that he casually pulled this out lets you know Kenjaku is leagues ahead of everyone. And Gary is shook, to say the least, when he puts those glasses on to see what is exactly making his men levitate in the air. And then Kenjaku calmly walks to the president and tells him, we're wrapping this meeting up. It's time to hunt the sorcerers. Another great chapter, to say the least, to finish up the setup that was put in place when it comes to the direct negotiations. And definitely the president, he agreed. I guess because to him, you know, at least he's protecting his people from what he said, from what Cyrus and Gary said. And from what he seen from Kenjaku, he pretty much had no choice but to go ahead with his plan. Also, it's pretty ironic that America had to be strongholded into doing something like this. I guess that's kind of ties into, you know, I guess the stereotype. I don't know. But pretty accurate, to say the least. But also find it cool, Kenjaku was so confident in sealing Gojo, he guaranteed he was going to seal him months prior. Like, man, Kenjaku really is like, he's one of these new age villains that he's going to stand the test of time. He's really good, man. And the fact that it's really a chase just to get to him is crazy. Like, he's barely taking any damage. I think the closest was at the kind of like the near end of Shibuya, but even then it didn't really do anything. Like, he hasn't been touched like that. No one on our cast has even seen him since Shibuya. Like, nobody can get to him. It's crazy. So I don't know where he's at right now, which is the scary part, because if we don't even know where he's at, except we know he's going to Tengen. But I want to talk about Cyrus and Gary really quick. Cyrus first, you know, he said he was doing this and persuading the president about protecting Japan and their sorcerers before the other countries try to hunt down Japan for the cursed energy. And this felt like a two-faced pitch to me, because he was so adamant about the human experimentation and how it would benefit the energy in America before anything else, and you know how they should get to the energy before anybody else so they don't get, you know, left behind. And then all of a sudden caring about the Japanese people, like that's definitely just felt like he was just saying that so the president would do it. And that's kind of how a lot of political things work. You kind of just switch your words around to still get what you want. Like this this is a sick deed that Kenjaku has them doing, and the fact that this guy was just doing all this pleading and begging for the president to do this is just he's definitely a one cold-hearted dude. And then Gary just needed to be humble. I mean, that guy, Gary was talking big talk. I mean, we do know that like pretty much guns and like weapons like that will do damage to sorcerers. I don't think cursed spirits. I think a gun to like a cursed spirit, I don't think that's really doing much, because you know they got the regenerating and all that. But it'll do something. But clearly, like if a guy walks up with a pistol, a regular human, he's not beating like a Yuji. Like he's just not. And I find it funny, he was also talking about like muscles and strength, and even Kenjaku agreed with him on that part, because you know we got Maki now, and heavenly restriction is about the body, and you know a little bit of, you know, getting rid of everything that's in your mind or whatever, but it's mainly about how strong she is physically when it comes to heavenly restriction. Man, let them run up on Maki, it's a wrap. Even Hikari, who doesn't even have like a gifted body per se, like even a Yuji or a Maki, he's just built like that, or like a Todo. Like they will have problems with them. But I gotta talk about that Ganesha cursed spirit. Oh man, that thing looks so cool. I hope we get like a name for it. I don't know if the names are important, but I just want to, because like you can't drop something like that and not expect me to be like, yo, that thing, I want to know everything about it. Like, what's the specific curse technique? Is it gravity based? Is it like psychic type where he's controlling people's bodies? Like, I want to know more about that thing. And how many of these unbelievable cursed spirits does Kenjaku have at his disposal to like this degree? Because I remember back in volume 0, I want to say the number was around 15 to 16 special grade cursed spirits, not counting obviously, you know, the new ones that we have. But I feel like he has a ton of special grade cursed spirits at his disposal. I don't know if this one is special grade, because you can be a huge curse and not be that much of a threat. I'm pretty sure this thing is clearly going, like, this thing is really strong. But man, like, just think about if Kenjaku just goes into the Culling Games, how many cursed spirits could we see that he just hasn't even shown, and how strong? Like, we just don't know. And I think that mystery is another thing I'm interested in. But what they confirmed to be thousands upon thousands of just countries and their armies, man, I cannot wait. Because the last page was Tokyo Colony #1 squad, Angel, Yuji, Megumi, and Takaba heading out to the battlefield to see what's going on. I am anticipating big hype levels. I can't wait, man. The fact that we're gonna have our sorcerers up against America is crazy. Like, I want to see the Angel in action. I want to see Takaba. Like, Gege set up a lot to the point where it's like, okay, we ready to get back into the action, but this time the stakes are even higher than we thought going into it. That's the end of the review. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this whole chapter, and what are you expecting going into the next one. Also, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy my Jujutsu Kaisen content. I'll let y'all in the next one. Peace.